everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Joel Kellen, and over the weekend I was finally able to finish the book Rainbow Six by Tom Clancy. The book itself is really great. The thing's like a monster of a book, about 900 pages long. I think it took me about a month just to go through it. Uh, it's really great. It's really about basically a black ops unit led by former CIA man John Clark and his son-in-law Domingo Chavez, where they are stopping seemingly random terrorist attacks around the globe. And I guess spoilers. They quickly find out that that all of it is orchestrated by this single corporation called Horizon. Called Horizon, and it's led by John Breitling as well as his technically ex-wife Carol, who was also a scientific advisor to the president in this story. Meanwhile, the terrorist attacks are a cover for them to formulate this version of the Ebola virus that they call Shiva, where they are or their ultimate goal is to basically eradicate almost all life on Earth. That way, like only the chosen people survive, and they can prosper. And in their opinion, that way the Earth can prosper, because they're those kind of people who think that like humanity is the problem, like they need to go in order for the Earth to survive. Back when I first got my N64, the first game I got for it just to test to see if it still works, because like the console's older than I am. The first game that I got for it was like the original Rainbow Six, mostly because that was one of the only titles that I recognized. And I never really cared for like the newer games like Rainbow Six Siege. I thought like those were a little bit too flashy. So I decided that I'd go to like the very first game, and that game was awesome. And then like I saw the actual book in in this really old bookstore over in Pennsylvania when my family and I took a trip up there, and I thought like, you know what? I think I'll just read the book and just compare notes with that in the game to see just how different they are from each other. And surprisingly, the book and the game, like they're not too different. Like they do keep. Excuse me. They do keep some characters from the book. Like obviously you have John Clark, and then you have Domingo Chavez. Unfortunately, you don't really play as John Clark. He's kind of like I guess you could say, the narrator of the game. He's the one who like gives you the mission briefings before the missions. Um, Domingo Chavez, technically you get to play as him, but there isn't too much of a distinction between him and like all the other characters you play as. Unless if you really want to look at their stats. A few other characters from Rainbow Six, such as like Byron and I think Vega, they're playable in the game, but like just like Chavez, there's no like actual distinction between them. The main villains of the game are the same as in the book. John Breitling and the Horizon Corporation. Carol Breitling does not appear in the game, but instead she's replaced by this other character, I believe, named Anne Lang, where she's the scientific advisor to the president. However, at least from the mission briefings that I read before starting the missions, she might not exactly know what Breitling's overall plan is, even though she does sort of understand where he's coming from. about like to save the world you have to kill the humans. Like even though she doesn't necessarily agree with it. The overall plot itself is very similar to the book, where you start out stopping random terrorist attacks. Um, Although like the locations are different in the game than in the book, where um, say kind of like the terrorist attacks in the book, such as like the bank heist in Bern, Switzerland, or like the hostage situation in I believe it was called World Park. Those are different, where instead of happening there, like they happen in like different locations, maybe in a rainforest or maybe like at a research facility. Um, Also, the Shiva virus does not exist in the game. Instead, it's called Ebola Brahma. But as far as I could tell, it was supposed to have like the same functions as the Shiva virus. Um, the way that it was going to be distributed is also the same as in the book. Whereas in the book, it was originally going to be distributed like through the air vents during the Olympic Games at Sydney, Australia. And well, they do the exact same thing in the game, or at least they try to, until you stop them in that mission. The way that Rainbow Six, the way that they discover that John Brightling and the Horizon Corporation are behind this whole like terrorist attack, it's very different than in the book. Whereas in the game, I believe you actually infiltrate the Horizon Corporation's headquarters and like download something from no, download these records from their computer files. I believe that's the mission called Deep Magic. Whereas in the book, they actually don't figure out what the whole master plan is until like the final few chapters. Like there's this one character in the book who is completely omitted from the game, called Dmitry Popov, if I'm saying that correctly. But he was the guy who was hired by John Brightling to orchestrate like all of the terrorist attacks. And once they're all said and done, he goes to Kansas where their main research facility is. Well, while there, he turns out that he doesn't know what the overall master plan is. And when he finds out, he kills one of the scientists who told him. Then he escapes, and then he goes off the grid and like reveals to Rainbow Six like what exactly is going on. So that's actually how Rainbow Six found out about the whole Shiva virus and the plot to like basically eradicate humanity. So that's one like key difference between like the book and the game. Another key difference between those is that, at least as far as I know, there isn't a mission that takes place in a hospital where you actually have to save Clark and Chavez's family. Whereas in the book, like there was a very huge plot point that like I believe the last terrorist attack was done against like John Clark and Chavez's wife, and that was basically supposed to be a message from the terrorists to Rainbow Six to stay out of their way. Well, it backfired, but in the game that doesn't happen at all. So those are most of the differences. Oh, and the ending is also very different. So another one of the characters who was both in the video game and in the book is William Henriksen. He runs a company called Global Security, and they are like the security detail at the Sydney Olympics. And they're also working with John Brightling. Like they're basically the reason why Brightling was able to orchestrate the Shiva virus to be distributed at the Olympics games. Well, so in the book, Henriksen is actually able to escape all the way to like a secondary research facility like in like Brazil in the jungle. Whereas in the book, your team actually apprehends him like as he's leaving. Now in the game, like that's the last we see of Henriksen and the global security, because after that, that's when you go to the research facility, I believe in Kansas, and like the terrorist groups, like some of them are similar, some of them aren't. Like one of them, one of them that appeared in the book was like the IRA, like Irish terrorists. Whereas in the game, like they're called like Nomar or something like that. So technically they're similar, but also very different. And their terrorist attack took place in like the Big Ben clock tower in the video game. Oh, and from what I heard, one of the gadgets in the game, the heartbeat sensor, was only added because of the addition to it in like the final chapter. Okay, yeah, and in the book, the Horizon Corporation arc is in Brazil. That's all the differences that I can really remember from the game and the book. Like all in all, like the the game is pretty faithful as an adaptation. Like it's still pretty loose because like there's large chunks of it that are missing, such as like that terrorist attack where Clark and Chavez have to save their wives. But right, other than that, they kind of like nail everything else. Like it's Rainbow Six against like a mega corporation, the Horizon Corps, led by John Brightling. Um, Horizon Corps' goal is to like eradicate humanity using like an engineered virus. And their cover is that they're using like multiple terrorist cells to like terrorize the world while they're busy working in the shadows. So like really, it's a great book and it's a pretty good video game. If if my memory is correct, the game actually came out just a couple weeks after the book did. But the whole reason why I'm talking about this now is, aside from finishing the book, I also recently watched Tom Clancy's Without Remorse on Amazon, the one that stars Michael B. Jordan. And I think I heard that Jordan signed on for a 2-movie deal, and the second movie is supposed to be based on Rainbow Six. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about this because I spoke with my dad about this, and like he's a fan of Tom Clancy, or at least the Jack Ryan novels. Which, speaking of, in in Rainbow Six, Jack Ryan is actually the president. Like I was not expecting that because like I mean I'm still stuck seeing him as like Harrison Ford in Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. So from what I've heard, Amazon is currently working on a Rainbow Six movie. Now, I'm not sure how different it is going to be from the book, but what I do think is that like given that the book itself is like 900 pages long, my dad told me that like it would serve well as like a mini series, and I both agree and disagree on that. I mean, I definitely agree that like probably putting it out as like a 2.5, maybe even 3 hour movie probably won't cut it. However, I do think that like that maybe if they like condensed it a little bit and then churned out like a 4 hour long movie like they did with Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think that could possibly work. And like if not, then maybe make it like an 8 episode miniseries, kind of like what they did with the Terminal List. Now I haven't read the Terminal List, although I did see that book like right next to Rainbow Six, funny enough. But I don't know, given how long this book is, and like I originally thought that this was gonna be just like the game where it's literally just like terrorist attack after terrorist attack after terrorist attack. Well, that's not it, because there's a lot of chapters where the characters are literally just like talking with each other, and well, that's kind of perfect for like a TV show. Like, you look at any TV show, whether it's like superhero, or like the Terminal List, like you get one or two really good action scenes, and then the rest of the episode is just like people just talking. And I honestly think that that would fit perfectly for Rainbow Six, either as like an 8 episode series, or if they wanna like get every single detail down, I'd argue and say that like maybe it would also work as like a 12 to 13 episode series, kind of like what they did with the Netflix series like Daredevil and The Punisher. But either way, I'll definitely be waiting for the movie of Rainbow Six to come out, and when it does, I'm definitely gonna review it. And whether I make a separate video or I do it in the same video, I am gonna be comparing notes between the book, the film, and the original video game. But that's really it for me, guys. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, definitely check out like the original novel, Rainbow Six, and the video game. And if you guys are interested in seeing seeing the Rainbow Six movie, I'd also recommend checking out Without Remorse. So that's really it for me, guys, and you guys have a good one.